What's worse, handling kids or handling old people? Trick question, I'd rather die. Greetings, investigators. My name is Detective Sins and welcome to another installment of Synopsins. Today we're covering a found footage horror movie from 2015 titled The Visit. Watch out for spoilers and let's get into the video. Becca, a 15-year-old girl, interviews her mother, Loretta Jameson, before she and her brother, Tyler, travels to see their grandparents. Loretta confesses in the interview that she had troubles with her parents 15 years ago and ran away, never seeing them again. Loretta claims that their parents recently did an internet search about her and requested if they may spend a week with Becca and Tyler. Despite Loretta's disapproval, Becca and Tyler agreed to travel to their grandparents' place so that their mother can enjoy herself with her partner. Becca and Tyler catch the train after saying their goodbyes. They talk and speculate what their grandparents actually look like. The problem here is that Loretta is an idiot for not providing sufficient information about her parents. Like at that point, anyone with gray hair might as well be their grandparents. Becca records Tyler, who opens the toilet door with a tissue. She explains that her brother was diagnosed with germophobia, or we can say clean freak. Germophobia can be caused by a variety of reasons. Tyler develops a fear of germs after his father left them. Many germophobes can recall a specific event or terrible experience that triggered their fear of germs. Tyler's fixation of being clean may just be a coping mechanism. They arrive in Pennsylvania, where their Marja or Nana and Frederick or Pop Pop are waiting for them at the train station. They are ecstatic when they visit Loretta's childhood home, which has everything she described, including the tree swing, the clock, and her room. Tyler takes the second camera outside the house and captures Frederick behaving strangely, going in and out of the shed without responding to Tyler's call. Frederick enters their room that night and informs them that they must go to bed at 9:30 p.m. Typical. Becca somehow wakes up at 10:23 p.m. craving Marja's cookies. As she approaches the kitchen, she sees Marja throwing up repeatedly at the bottom of the stairs. Becca sees Frederick, who is working at the barn after breakfast. They talk about what Becca saw the night before. Frederick merely says that her Nana had the stomach bug and that it's usual for elderly people to be sick. After leaving the barn, Becca and Tyler play hide and seek. Becca begins her search for Tyler, who has been hiding, but she is soon chased by a crawling woman. Tyler is confused as to why Becca hasn't returned after passing through his hideout. Tyler begins to crawl out from his hiding, and he is also chased by a crawling woman. Becca and Tyler come out of the basement gasping for air. Turns out, that woman is Marja. Dr. Sam pays Marja and Frederick a visit because they haven't shown up for the volunteer schedule since last Saturday. Dr. Sam leaves the house after leaving his greetings as Becca informs him that their grandparents have just gone for a walk. Tyler, on the other hand, is still curious about the inside of the shed. Tyler is disgusted when he sneaks inside and sees the pile of diapers full with poops. Ugh. Marja informs Tyler of this, explaining that Frederick suffers from incontinence and is embarrassed by his condition. That being said, someone in their right mind would properly dispose of them instead of keeping them in the shed. Frederick drives them to Loretta's old school. As Tyler describes Loretta's past, Frederick tells them that they must go since they are being followed. Frederick begins to attack a stranger across the street, telling him to leave him alone. Becca and Tyler are awakened by a weird noise outside their room later that night. Tyler, who is really curious, opens their door and sees something quite surprising. Marja is seen scratching the walls non-stop while entirely naked, which is no different than my cat making a scene at 3 in the morning. Here's the thing though, I genuinely think having a video of your naked grandma on tape is a sin in so many different ways. Maybe even cursed. If you have common decency and agree with me on this, give this video a like. While you're at it, subscribe to us as well. It will help us create more videos in the future. Becca asks about Marja's health to Frederick. Frederick then admits that Marja has dementia and that she sometimes suffers from sundowning, a state of absolute disorientation that begins late in the afternoon and lasts into the night. Tyler suspects Marja is acting strangely throughout the day and will act even stranger at night. Becca, on the other hand, simply tells Tyler that they're old and make mistakes. After that, Becca and Tyler have a FaceTime call with Loretta. Tyler tells his mother that their Nana is acting strangely. Becca, on the other hand, reassures her mother that everything is great. Now, I don't really like to video call as much as the next guy, but the webcam here looks suspiciously covered. Becca invites Marja to an interview in the afternoon. Marja instructs Becca to clean the oven. Marja agrees to be interviewed once Becca finishes cleaning the inside of the oven. Becca offers a light question before starting the interview so Marja doesn't get nervous. Becca begins to ask about Marja's past after she thinks that Marja is calm enough. Becca asks about the day when Loretta left the house. Marja then becomes enraged. Becca and Tyler hear unusual noises from outside the room again later that night. When they open the door, they witness Marja running around with her hands tied behind her back. They all go for a walk together. Marja is then seen staring blankly into the well. Becca and Tyler go back to the well to see what they can find. However, there is nothing but filthy water there. Stacy, one of Marja and Frederick's rehab patients, comes over to check on them. Stacy leaves the food she cooked and returns home after Becca informs her that they had gone out. Becca decides to spend the afternoon following her Nana and Pop-Pop around to film their daily activities. Becca hears Marja laughing and assumes that it was because of the TV. When Becca comes in, though, Marja was simply staring at the wall. Becca asks as to why Marja laughs, to which she says that she must do so in order to keep the deep darkies locked within the cave. How are you 15 and not freaking out yet? Becca searches the barn for Frederick and discovers him holding a shotgun to his mouth. I mean, I'd do the same if the love of my life is a nutsack. When Frederick is caught doing so, he instantly pretends to clean his gun. Becca just tells Frederick that Marja isn't feeling well without mentioning anything. As a result, Becca agrees to install the camera in the living room to monitor what's going on at the residence. At night, Marja walks around the house again, and suddenly, Marja appears in front of the camera. After picking up the knife, she carries the camera upstairs, filming herself and pounding on Becca and Tyler's door. Marja walks downstairs and returns the camera where it belongs. What? Becca and Tyler review the tape from last night. Becca wants Tyler and herself to stay away from Marja and Frederick, at least until Loretta picks them up. Becca conducts an interview with Frederick, asking why he stopped working. Frederick claims to have seen a white creature running around late at night, but no one believes him. As a result, he was fired. While watching the recorded interview, Becca and Tyler overhear Marja and Frederick arguing with Stacy. Stacy appears enraged, but Becca and Tyler have no idea what they're talking about. Stacy is invited inside by Marja and Frederick so they can talk more quietly. It's been hours since Stacy came, and still, she stayed. Becca does an interview with Marja for the last time before they leave. She tells Marja that she is free to talk about whatever she wants. Marja then begins to tell her a tale about water and how people who go down into the pond will fall into a deep sleep rather than dying. Becca begins to wonder what Marja will do if her daughter visits her after all these years. "I forgive you, little girl," Marja says as she sobs. Becca and Tyler phone their mother to inform her of their journey. Loretta can see them this time because the camera is clean. Becca requests that they be picked up that night because something is wrong with their grandparents. Loretta asks as to where their grandparents are now, to which Tyler responds by bringing the laptop up to the window so Loretta may see what her parents are up to at their chicken coops. Loretta tells her children that they are not their grandparents with a tense expression on her face. Loretta tells them to escape the house and promises to call the cops on her way there. See? There. I call it. Dumb fuck parents doing dumb fuck shit. Frederick suggests playing board games as a party for Becca and Tyler. They agree to play a board game, but Marcia requests that Becca clean the inside of the oven once more before they begin playing. Marcia closes the oven door this time, leaving Becca to panic inside. Marcia brings food into the living area, and Becca and Tyler explains that they will have their last interview outside. They step outside and discover Stacy hanging from a tree. Frederick shuts the door and informs them that the teams for the game have already been formed. The old versus the young. The game begins, but Becca pretends to go back to her room to change the camera battery in the middle of the game. She actually goes down to the basement. She discovers that Maple Shade, where Marcia and Frederick work, is a mental hospital. She digs a little further and discovers two bodies. The real Marcia and Frederick. Fake Frederick, or Mitchell, follows Becca to the basement and tells her that fake Marcia, or Claire, deserves to be a grandmother, which is why they are doing this. Ah yes, let's skip over the obvious step of adopting a child and steal one instead. Mitchell follows Becca up to his room and locks the door. He returns to the kitchen and pulls Tyler in with him. Mitchell undresses, removes his poopy diaper, and presses it against Tyler's face. It's 9:30 p.m. and Claire is about to start sundown. Claire begins to crawl around the bed, trying to grab Becca. She pulls the blanket up over her head and comes up to Becca, who is standing in front of the mirror. As Claire approaches Becca, she smashes the mirror with the camera and grabs the shattered glass. As Claire pins her down on the bed, Becca then brutally stabs Marcia, killing her. Becca smashes the doorknob with her camera many times and manages to escape. Becca begins to attack Mitchell, and Tyler jumps down to help her. By opening and closing the refrigerator door, Tyler knocks him down and crushes Mitchell's head. With the arrival of the cops and Loretta, Becca and Tyler manage to get out of the house. The film ends with Becca interviewing Loretta. Loretta talks about the happy times in her childhood, and this time, she exposes how strained her relationship with her parents was 15 years ago. Loretta asks her not to hold on to anger over her father's abandonment. In response, we watch Becca's father's slideshow, which she earlier stated was not allowed to be included in her documentary. The plot twist was a twist, but not unexpected. This all could be avoided if Loretta had just explained what their grandparents look like. Conclusion: take more selfies and keep pictures of your family members. They may be useful in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, go ahead and click that like button down below. Subscribe if you want to see more content just like this, and ring that bell to get notified whenever we post a new video. Investigators, you are dismissed.